It is the Wednesday before the NFL draft. Oh, you can feel the calm kind of coming in before it starts getting crazy. But it's always crazy around here, Jason, with 49ers content, whether it's news, rumors, or just trying to get ready for the draft. There's always something to talk about. And guess what? We're going to break it all down right after this. That's Jason Aponte. I'm Brad Graham. We're going to get into it all right now. Jason, it's a pretty uneventful week, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, nothing to talk about in 49ers land ever. Aside from literally everything, general manager speaking, bots on the internet running with a new report that was literally reported by John Lynch himself. Just same old stuff.
Same old, same old. So you talked about it. Let's start there. What we're gonna do though, because the draft is tomorrow. We did a mock draft last week. We'll do another mock draft this week. Because why not? We got the draft coming up. So of course we're gonna do some draft content. We just can't talk all the time about the quarterback, but in some weird way, we always find ourselves back here talking about the quarterback. So, but we have good reason to. John Lynch spoke to the media today, or not today, earlier in the week, and effectively reiterated what they've already been saying since about the combine is Brock Purdy is going to be quarterback one and is quarterback one. Would you say that that is a clear assessment of who quarterback one is?
That was my biggest takeaway. And when he was asked about Lamar Jackson, I think that's all you really needed to hear was, yes, I've investigated Lamar. We've explored that. And I don't know why he said it this way. We're convicted in Brock. I think we have conviction in Brock is really what he wanted to say. And that was the time when I was like, yeah, this is it, man. He mentions Brock, and then he almost catches himself and says, oh, and the rest of the guys in that room. So I think it goes back to kind of what we felt when you listen to them speak at the combine, when you listen to players talk on podcasts. This is Brock's team. And if Brock was healthy today, there's no question in my mind that he would be the guy going forward. And I have another hot take. If Brock Purdy was healthy today, no problem, no UCL, Trey Lance would have already been traded.
We were talking about this last week, and I think it's something that we both see eye to eye on that, Brock Purdy played so well at the end of the year. He didn't lose. The only reason why he lost is because he got hurt 6 plays in. And that's not enough to take away a starting job. I mean, we've talked so much about Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, and it was Brock Purdy who played the best out of all three from what we've seen. Sample size, not very large, but it is what it is. It's what we've seen. And right now, Brock Purdy has done the most considering the circumstances. And you have to tip your cap, even if you are the biggest Trey Lance fan. And I understand that's part of this discussion and the discourse is Trey fans versus Brock fans, et cetera, et cetera. Even if you're the biggest Trey fan and you want Trey to succeed, you're a 49er fan at the end of the day, you have to tip your cap at what Brock Purdy has done. What he has done as being a Mr. Irrelevant, coming in as a rookie, getting thrown in mid-game against the Dolphins. They're throwing zero blitz at him. And dude is just chilling, vibing, leads them to a win, and then doesn't lose. You have to tip your cap. Like, you have to be able to give credit where credit's due, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I mean, when you look at the amount of games that he's won, and I don't count the NFC Championship game because he only plays 6 plays. We have no idea what that would be. But when
Right.
you look at the amount of 30-point games that they put up, you haven't seen that as a 49er fan since Steve Young. Coincidentally, Steve Young was the last franchise quarterback that you've also have seen. Not trying to correlate it in that way, but I think it's more illustrating the point that it's been this long. Shout out to you, Ken. I really appreciate that comment, by the way, too. Brad keeps it real too, man. He keeps it 100. Sometimes I
Not as
keep
much
it.
as spicy Aponte.
No, well,
Aponte will
sometimes
fire
I
from
keep it.
the hip.
Right. Well, sometimes I keep it 1,000, and that gets me in trouble because Brad had to sit me down like a child in text message and was like, "Yo, no more cursing, bub." So,
Calm down there, Papa.
but yeah, I mean, I think again, no matter what you can predict going forward, I do think that Brock Purdy has earned every single right to be the guy who would be quarterback one and take all the snaps. So, at this point, the only question is how quickly can he get healthy? And when he is healthy, will he return to that same level of play? I think those are the only two questions that we have left with Brock Purdy at this point.
Right. Brock's done enough from a leadership intangible, which we know the 49ers hold in the highest of regards, which is why I think fans have had such a disconnect with, Jimmy Garoppolo, because clearly Jimmy Garoppolo had the locker room and it appears Brock has the locker room. So where does that leave Trey Lance? Because it feels like for the first time since Trey Lance has been drafted, we're actually finally getting some clarity with where he stands, which, again, if you're a Trey Lance fan, it's not where you want to be or where you wanted Trey to be. But we're just trying to monitor the situation as it comes in. And it does feel like this might be the most clear that we have heard the 49ers really talk about Trey up until this point. Would you say?
Yeah, and I think when you listen to the language, right, and you listen to the way they say things, everything begins with Brock when they start talking quarterback. And when they speak about Trey and Darnold, it's always compete, compete, compete. And we're excited to see him compete. We're excited to see him be a part of the team, but it's always compete. And it's always between Darnold and Trey. But with Brock, leader in the clubhouse, he's the first word out of Lynch's mouth when they mention unanimous MVP Lamar Jackson. It's just it's too much to ignore at this point. And again, based on his play, based on the way the 49ers won games, which is the ultimate barometer when it comes to judging 49ers quarterbacks, right? Wouldn't you say? Because it's not about how they played or contextualizing how they played or
QB
what happened.
wins.
Right, QB wins, right? Like QB wins, and that's why he who shall not be named was here for a long time. They won a bunch of games with him. I would argue that
They couldn't
Nick
quit.
Bosa. I would argue that Nick Bosa has a better win percentage as a defensive end because this team wins games when he's on there, so we can turn it over to defensive end wins.
Ooh.
But at the same time, that's the ultimate way to actually look at these players and look at how they perform. And when Brock hasn't lost a game that he's started and finished, it's hard to ignore, and you have to give him the nod to begin. So all of this just lines up at this point. But when you listen to Trey and Darnold, and when they speak about it, it's always compete. We're excited. We're excited about our quarterback room. We're excited about them competing. That's always the language that's used. It's not necessarily, it's not the inflection. It's not the way that it's just the language itself that's being used around these guys. So, yep.
And it really comes down to, like, it's a complete 180 of the language that was used last year. Like, we were told 100% that Trey Lance was the starting quarterback. He's the guy. He got all the first team reps in training camp. There's no questions. So it's obviously a drastic change from last year till now, but it kind of is what it is at this particular point. Tony says, is it Brock or is it CMC with Shanahan calling the plays? Would love to see Trey in that offense with CMC. That's all I'm saying. And I think a lot of people hold this sentiment where we haven't seen it. We've seen 4 games. And in one of those games, he breaks his ankle. One of those games is like we talked, it's like a script that we always repeat. The torrential downpour breaks his ankle. First start against Arizona was atrocious. Just from game planning all the way down, it was just not a good game. No George Kittle in that game, and you could tell George wasn't playing in that game. But he had the great win against the Texans. That was effectively a playoff. They had to win to get in and to even have a shot at the playoffs. So it really does come down to, yeah, we want to see what Trey can do. What I feel, the 49ers have seen enough. They don't the messaging and that the messaging that I've been feeling and the lack thereof is I keep getting the sense that they don't need to see him in games. I get the sense that they have seen enough in practice. They've seen enough. I don't know what that enough is. I can't tell you what it is because even when I saw him at joint practices and training camp last year, it wasn't his best work, but you can also tell he's a developing quarterback. So for me, I'm always going to give a developing player a benefit of the doubt that he's going to clean that up and get better. But we knew he needed reps. So that I think that's what it comes down to is, fans, of course, they wanna see what it is, but it does feel like the 49ers have seen enough.
Yeah, and again, a little bit to Brad's point in training camp, it's not like Purdy was lighting it up. It's not like Purdy was just crushing it. There would be days where he wouldn't even get reps. And when you look back at the timeline, you have Trey Lance as quarterback one taking the reps. You have Nate Sudfeld, who was under contract. And then you have Jimmy Garoppolo running on the sideline behind everybody. And then eventually he comes back in and then everything else kind of takes shape. What they're going off of is the games. But to Tony's point, Jimmy Garoppolo looked markedly better when Christian McCaffrey was there, when he had all these guys. Really, please go in your room and watch Super Y. So when you look at this, you look at the games that are played. I agree with Tony's sentiment wholeheartedly that I would have loved to have seen Trey Lance get an opportunity with CMC, everybody fully healthy. George Kittle didn't play in week one against the Bears, right? I would love to see that. But in this results-driven business, I feel like it doesn't matter what we want to see. It's what they have seen. And a lot of that has to do with what Brock Purdy has put on tape and how this offense operated. And he won 2 playoff games. That's another thing that we can't really discount. So I think, again, our sentiment isn't wrong because I would love to see Trey Lance in a fully functioning offense with all these guys. Just doesn't feel like we're going to get that opportunity barring Brock Purdy's injury lasting longer than week one.
Yeah. So it's feels like we're getting more clarity on the situation of an ongoing quarterback. Like feels like we're walking around with tinfoil hats on at this point, like just trying to make sense of what was this comment? What is this? What is that? But at the end of the day, I think, we've been sensing it for a while. And, it does just feel like that's where it's currently headed. Does look like Jason's off to take care of some daddy duties. Tony says, P.S. I love you dads getting work done. Hey, we got to do what we got to do, man. You know the vibes. Shout out to all the dads out there because we know you're grinding for your families. We definitely can relate to all that good stuff.
It's more about her mom being lazy. Oh, wait, I didn't say it. Oh, wait, I thought I was muted. What the heck, man? I wasn't muted.
Spicy Aponte comes in.
It's a lifestyle. It's not just on YouTube. Trust me. I promise you.
It's not just a lifestyle. So, again, like with this whole quarterback situation, the 49ers are going to be tied to any available quarterback because that's just the way it is. Just rumors, so we understand it's par for the course. And until we see a day one starter heading into week one, anything's going to be up for conversation. And I guess where we can go from here is, do you think a Trey Lance trade is something that could be a reality? Not because I'm trying to phrase it in a way where it's like, it could happen. Like they would be willing to do it. Like obviously you need another partner and you need the correct value. Like you need a lot of things to fall in the line. But I guess the bottom line question is, do you think the 49ers they would be willing to trade Trey Lance?
Again, if Brock Purdy was 100% healthy, I think no doubt in my mind that they would have already moved Trey Lance. And I think that a lot of teams would have understood that the 49ers were moving on. Now they kind of have an idea, but they're still waiting for Brock Purdy to be healthy. Do I think he's going to be traded this draft weekend? No, because we still don't know if Brock Purdy is going to be fully healthy. There's optimism. Optimism isn't certainty. And Brad, I just have a tough time with getting rid of quarterbacks when all the 49ers did last year was insulate themselves with as many quarterbacks as possible. You bring back Jimmy Garoppolo. You keep Purdy on the practice squad, and thank God they did. I just have a hard time thinking that the 49ers, after they just watched how many quarterbacks they ran through, and as cheap as Trey Lance is right now, for you to just say, well, God, I'll take the third round pick that you're offering. Just we have to get away from him. Like we have to get away from him. Meanwhile, last year, when they were actively looking to trade Jimmy Garoppolo, Kyle Shanahan at the owners meeting literally said out of his mouth, we don't give up quarterbacks, and we're not just going to give them away. So now you mean to tell me after a year of watching them lose quarterback after quarterback after quarterback, they are so done with Trey Lance. They are so trying to get rid of him that they're just saying, man, give us whatever it is that you got, as opposed to having a high upside backup who, if God forbid something happens to Purdy, if God forbid he ends up with an injury, can step in and knows the offense. Another thing, Brad, is the timing. So here's my question to you. I'm going to flip this back on you. It's April 26th. A lot of teams, if not all of them, have their first phase of their OTAs going on where people are in the building and they're learning the offense and everything as well, right? This is essentially Trey Lance's third year in this offense. Now, let's say you hold on to Trey into training camp and you're trying to see what he is. You're trying to wait for Brock Purdy. Now, you try to trade him during training camp when you think everything's good with Brock Purdy, and you're essentially trading him to a team where he would either, one, have to immediately learn the playbook and jump in and play, which is detrimental to his development, or two, go to another team and sit for another year, which is detrimental to his development. The timeline doesn't match up with any of this. And logic would tell you that if the 49ers were so desperate to move off of him, even though John Lynch said there was more smoke than what's being let on, whatever, I'm not getting into the games of who's saying what.
Right.
The timelines between moving Lance and what you want to do to insulate your quarterback room at this point, there's no Jimmy Garoppolo walking through that door or running on your sideline for you to fall back on just in case. He's a Las Vegas Raider. Why would you see yourself moving away from a quarterback who understands this offense, who you still believe has this dynamicism to him that you traded up for? That's the part that I have a little bit of issue with. That's it.
Yeah, I think the big indicator for me personally, after kind of tracking this whole situation, is if the San Francisco 49ers draft a mid-round quarterback. I don't think a draft day trade is going to happen. It just doesn't feel like it's going to materialize. But I think what could be an indicator of, again, the 49ers continuously kind of inching closer to a life without Trey Lance. Again, we're speculating here, so we don't know.
Hold on, pull up SD's quote. I'm sorry, his comment. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just think it's hilarious because I do think this is a very real possibility.
What is he saying?
Come on, Jason. You know what's happening. Trey gets traded. Niners draft DTR, and then when it all goes to hell, I didn't say it the word. So thank you. Say that. Kyle gets his boy Cousins in 2024. I don't want to rain on anybody's parade, but if you don't think that when Kirk Cousins is a free agent next season, that there's not going to be smoke about the 49ers being in on Kirk or anything like that, then you are sorely, sorely, sorely mistaken. I promise you that no matter what, and if Kirk Cousins is a free agent, that's absolutely going to be something that we discuss over and over and over again in the offseason, Brad.
Yeah, and basically what I was saying is I still think that Trey Lance is on the roster throughout the draft. I think what the ultimate sign is if Trey is on the roster in 2023 or moved comes down to if they draft a mid-round quarterback.
Yeah. Right.
Because then you can get a post June 1st trade where you get to save a little bit of money and stuff like that. So
I just love the I love the comments, Brad. Why do we want Cousins? Charlene, we? Who said we? Not we. Him. Coach. Him. As long as there's that love affair with Kirk Cousins, that's not going anywhere. And that rumor will not go anywhere. NFL content creators, reporters know that they can pick on that over and over and over. Brock Purdy would have to go out, play the entire season, undeniably take the spot to stop everyone from running with Kirk Cousins stuff. It's not we. I don't think the fans are necessarily, right, Brad? I mean, I don't want to speak for all of us. I don't think we're necessarily like, oh, I can't wait for Kirk to be a free agent. I think we just know Kyle, and that's it. It's just Kyle.
It feels inevitable is basically what you're saying. Like, it's just the way the universe is going to collide, and it's how it's going to happen, right?
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
pretty
that's the
much what it
thing.
comes down to.
It's less about what we want. Nobody cares what we want, because if they cared what we wanted, many of us, Justin Fields would have been the pick at 3. They don't care what we want. They don't care at all. So again, when you say we, I'm sure you meant the 49ers organization, but we, the fans, I have gotten to a point where all of my emotions are gone with any decision that's made, because one, I'm not in control of it, and two, this team's going to do whatever the hell they want. So that's why I bring up Kirk Cousins. It's like, I don't want to talk about him anymore, but I would be naive to believe that we aren't going to be down this road next offseason all over again when he's a free agent.
Yeah. So let's see. BNA says ATL, when they let Favre go after 1 year, he was the MVP and Super Bowl MVP 4 years later. Franchise guys take time. I mean, Steve Young got traded away from, what was it, Tampa Bay? Never got an opportunity there, sat behind Joe Montana. But that, I think that's where the conflicting ideology is of what development is and what the NFL is. The NFL, well, you hear it all the time, stands not for long, and not everyone develops at the super or pro ready or develop at a super speed type, developmental track. We know everyone has ebbs and flows, and it goes up, it goes down. But that's the thing. It's like, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is regarding this situation. But again, I will be happy though when we have some clarity,
Yes.
because that's all I really care about anymore. Like, because like you said, like, I used to get super like upset. I was like, why isn't Trey Lance getting first team reps when he was a rookie? And like, why is Jimmy Garoppolo getting all the first team reps in training camp? Like, why aren't they rotating? Like, where's the competition? Where's the battle? I was like, it's like, what the heck, man? Like, what are we doing here? And I used to get like upset about that. And it's like, after that season and that off season, I was like, all right, the 49ers are going to do what they're going to do. And they ended up going to the NFC Championship game. So I was like, all right, I gotta check my emotions a little bit, take some of the fandom out of it, because at the end of the day, we like this team. We want to see them be successful, but we're also going to be objective, and we're going to talk about what if we think they're making the right decisions. We're going to analyze the decisions that are going to be made, and we're going to analyze what's being said, because there's also a track record of things that are said that don't mean anything. I mean, the one that I think of is John Lynch saying, quote, throughout training camp, Trey Sermon has been one of our best players, and then gets cut like I think like a week or two later.
Yeah, and he just wasn't, and that shocked the hell out of me. But a little bit to your point about Trey Lance, I think there were certain fans that were willing to have patience, but the organization wasn't, because of how loaded this roster is. Again, I'll say it again. When you normally pick at number 3, you're a bad team. And you can start your quarterback and you can have him, go through the ebbs and flows, ups and downs, valleys and peaks, whatever it is that you want to call it. But the 49ers were ready to let him sit for another year. Hopefully think that 1 year off was going to be like, oh, he'll get it and he'll just move in this, and obviously the injury happens. But I think there was a certain section of 49er fans that were happy to watch Trey Lance start immediately to kick off his development. But there was a large portion of 49ers fans and the organization itself that wasn't willing to kick away games in the name of development, because they did have guys that were ready to win now. And again, the miscalculation of the timeline the 49ers were on, coupled with the development time needed for Trey Lance, is probably the biggest problem with this whole scenario and the trade up. If the 49ers were on that type of time early on when they were at number 3, Mac Jones was there for you to take a 12. Like, if you didn't want to wait for a guy, Mac Jones was the most pro ready. Mac Jones was the guy that can operate the offense, whatever it is that people were saying. But it seems to me that when they moved to 3, they moved to 3 knowing that that quarterback needed development. And then when the quarterback actually needed the development, they pretended to be shocked. And that's when things started to go the other way, in my opinion.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's a lot of what we've said in the past. You know, I think we're just, again, trying to gain more clarity. And from the conversations that I had this week is why we're talking about it again. Other things that were brought up, I guess, from the press conference before we get into some draft stuff. What did you make of John not committing to picking up Brandon Aiyuk's 5th-year option?
Okay, now let's all put our tinfoil hats on, right? Okay, real quick.
Oh, yep.
John Lynch did something that I never would have thought he would have done. I feel like the entire press conference was like I called it on the Bully Ball podcast, nothing burgers and word salads. Everything was just, status quo, right? One part that I found very interesting was that he dove into the 49ers actively shopping Mike McGlinchey. And that is something that was unprompted. No one asked about that, and no one knew about that either, by the way. So for the people that are like, oh, there's all this smoke, Schefter and Rappaport know about Trey Lance and offering trades, how come nobody knew that John Lynch was actively shopping Mike McGlinchey because they knew he was priced out of his range?
Well, Mike did do an interview with
he wrote an article for ESPN.
Wagner, yes, where that information came out. So, but it was unprompted. He wasn't asked.
No, and that was after he signed a deal with Denver. He didn't do that. He didn't do that during the time that he was there as a Niner. He wrote an article for ESPN. He was already signed. I'm talking about during the time, right? So what's interesting about that is, first of all, it was unprompted, and the question was, do you have a clear discussion with Trey as to what's going on with the trade, right? And he said, I can't speak to everybody if a call comes in because that means I'd be speaking about everybody in this room every day. Right. But bringing up the McGlinchey thing, I tied it to Aiyuk because they eventually picked up Mike's 5th. They realized they were going to lose Mike, and they were shopping Mike. And they actively told him, we're shopping you. We're going to look. And Mike wrote this all down in his article. So Mike McGlinchey was actively shopped because the 49ers believed they weren't going to be able to sign him. He was priced out of his range, and they wanted to get something back for him. Now, tie it to Brandon Aiyuk. I don't think that him saying anything about the 5th-year option on Monday is anything to worry about. I am fairly certain. I'm actually quite certain that on Monday you're going to hear about the 5th-year option. The reason I feel like he balked at discussing that right then is because they're going to decline Javon Kinlaw's 5th-year option. And if you say in that press conference, yes, we're immediately picking up Aiyuk's, but we're not picking up Kinlaw's, that's why you have him saying, I need to talk with these guys, because he needs to have a face-to-face talk with Javon Kinlaw as to why they're declining his 5th-year option. You can't publicly disclose that news and have Javon Kinlaw find out that he has his 5th-year decline, even if he knew it was coming. Mm-hmm. But that's a good take. I really look at this, and I looked at that story as, wow, is this going to be something that the 49ers are going to start doing with Aiyuk? Now, Aiyuk's 5th-year option has not been picked up, but that doesn't mean that if they did pick it up that he wouldn't be up for trade regardless, like whatever it is. The 49ers have this funny way of going into almost every single trade, every single draft with someone to trade. Last year, Deebo. The year before that, Kittle. Now this year, Aiyuk and Trey Lance. So again, they're trying to see what they can do, see what they can muster up, and don't think that the 49ers are just going to take anything for Brandon Aiyuk, just like they did with Mike McGlinchey. When they asked around, they got offers and they got what they were saying, but they didn't get what and they were like, you know what? Ultimately, we're just going to run with him for his 5th year, and we're going to lose him for nothing. He's better on our team than whatever draft pick we can recoup for him.
They'll take your comp pick in return.
Yep. You get your comp when you leave, and you feel that he's better on your team that year. So I feel when he told that Mike McGlinchey story, he was telling us a little bit about what could possibly be happening with Brandon Aiyuk. And that's the way I'm correlating this story, because it is a bit parallel. One was at pick 9, one wasn't. One was later in the first round. But I felt that was very much the reason that my eyebrows more raised now about Brandon Aiyuk than ever before. Because to hear that sort of insight and to hear him be that frank about the way that played out, that means that behind the scenes, they're definitely doing things that and I'm not saying the 49ers don't leak. I'm not saying that, because that's not true at all. What I'm saying is, if they're really trying to move somebody, they're really going to try, but they're not just going to take anything. So I don't know if you want to correlate that to Trey Lance or whatever, but the Brandon Aiyuk thing is where I correlated that Mike McGlinchey story.
I think we all understand, like, it comes down to money. It comes down to how can you afford everyone. Nick Bosa is going to get paid quarterback money. And the 49ers are already up against the cap, and it just comes down to a business conversation. I don't think the 49ers, if anything were to happen with Brandon Aiyuk, I really do believe them when they say, like, they love Brandon, they want Brandon to be a part of the team, and they envision a future with Brandon. But we also understand this is a business first. Like, this is the NFL. It is business number one always. So that's what both player and organization are going to stick to, and respect. That's how it should be, because it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Get your paper, take care of your family. You say that, I say that all the time. Like, we're not going to fault a player for not taking below market value because he wants to stay on a team. No, you got to go get your bread, and if you can't get it from the team that drafted you, that happens all the time. So I agree. I'm still on alert. I would love for Brandon to get paid, but I also understand that it might be very difficult to get him paid. So that makes the options more, I guess, fluid in regards to what his future could be. It's not we're waiting for him to get paid. It's okay. Well, him getting paid is a range of outcome, but there's also additional ranges of outcomes that come along with it. So but I do feel comfortable that Brandon Aiyuk will be on the 49ers this year. He's gonna take about $4 million against the cap. I mean, that value, getting $4 million for Brandon Aiyuk in 2023, as he'll probably be heading into like literally the prime of his career. He will be primed up, juiced up, ready to go, and could be playing for that contract, right? So we could see the best version of Brandon Aiyuk next year. And whether that's going to translate into a long-term contract at the 49ers, it's going to translate into a long-term contract with someone. But ultimately, it's going to translate into the 49ers getting the best version of Brandon Aiyuk, because he's going to put it on tape, and that's going to translate into him getting paid. So it's going to be bittersweet regardless, if we ever see Brandon wearing a different color. But it is what it is, and I understand it. So I'm going to enjoy this time. Yeah. With BA, and we'll cross this. I don't think he's going to get traded during the draft. I think he's here in 2023. After that, I think the questions will be open of what his future holds, and I understand them. I'm not going to look at this franchise and shake my fist at them like, how can you not, unless other players, something happens. I'm not even going to put it out there in the universe, but we understand how it works. Go ahead.
No, and you can't pay everybody, right? Like, again, you just can't. It's impossible. I mean, the reason that the 49ers have so many high-level players is because the 49ers have such a cheap quarterback room. And that's another thing that when Lynch was asked about Lamar, is like, yeah, you explore that, but we're convicted with Brock and the guys that we have. And then he makes a statement about, well, our roster is where it is because they don't pay the quarterback much. So I think the bigger question, Brad, is, do the 49ers just want a quarterback who is going to operate the offense, or would they sacrifice players from this roster to get one of those high-level, high-end guys, which, again, by the way, and I probably count 5 in the entire NFL that are elite. I know everybody wants elite quarterbacks. Guess what? They're not growing on trees. That's why they're called elite. Because if everybody could get an elite quarterback, then they wouldn't be elite. Right. I do think that that's the way that they're building their roster at this point. When you look at Brock Purdy, who is, for all intents and purposes, the quarterback one, he doesn't even count against the cap. He doesn't even count against the cap. Even Trey Lance at the number 3 pick, he still costs nothing. Sam Darnold is on an incentivized contract. They all together are $13 million, and that's not even close to the cheapest starting quarterback in the league at this point. So again, it is what it is, man, at this point. I think you can listen to what he says, and a lot of the things that he says are just normal, right? But they wouldn't be able to have Deebo, Aiyuk, McCaffrey, Kittle, Trent, Fred, like all these guys if they weren't going so cheap at the quarterback room. And I think that's going to be the larger discussion, I think, Brad, going forward. Like, I think we can have like a whole hour and a half episode about high-level quarterback, but you lose one or two players. Does this high-level quarterback make up for this? Or are the 49ers just trying to stack their roster the best way that they know with the best players, which is not a bad strategy either, but it hasn't necessarily led to Super Bowls. And when you look at the last few Super Bowl winners, what do they all have? Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, all those years, high-end guys. And that's the thing. That's the question.
It is the question, and Brock Purdy had an opportunity to answer that question until he got hurt. He was answering that question up until that point, and that's why I think whether you're a fan of the idea or not, I can understand why fans want the superstar quarterback. Who doesn't want a superstar quarterback? Because we know what that translates to. Everyone wants a superstar quarterback. Like, what are we talking about? But you've also seen how the San Francisco 49ers, with a rookie, Brock Purdy, who was Mr. Irrelevant, went undefeated in this system with the weapons around him. So regardless of how much you may want a superstar quarterback, the 49ers have a proven case study in front of them of a extremely cheap, cost-effective quarterback who can facilitate the football, read defense pre and post snap, and process at a high level, which, guess what, is perfect for Kyle Shanahan. And guess what? It translated to wins. And then guess what? What matters most of all in the NFL? Winning. So, yes, we want the superstar quarterback. We want the top 5 guy. But the 49ers have also built a roster, at least on offense and also on defense, where, listen, they have a workaround. It's the whole NFL is going one way. They've gone the other. And they found success. We just have to see if that success can continue, because now there's a huge question mark with Brock Purdy's injury, which, again, makes it really muddy and all that type of stuff. All right. I think we're good on the quarterback. What? We just almost did 40 minutes on the quarterback. I can't wait, Jason, until we don't have to talk about this anymore. But
when? What year? 2020?
I don't know. We got the draft tomorrow, and we're still like, we just did 40 minutes on the quarterback. Like, what the hell, man? Like,
the year is 2028, and Brad and Jason are doing State of the Franchise, asking, is this the year the 49ers land a franchise quarterback? Hey, really, is this the year the San Francisco 49ers land a franchise quarterback? Oh, are you coming over here? You want to see broadcast? I thought we saw Justin drop off a big donation. Yeah,
we got 2. Hi, really.
Hi.
What's the boy? So I don't know. We're gonna be. Our beards are gonna be gray. It feels like by that time, but we're gonna find out. I'm gonna come take them as they came in, because I know 49ers Throwback has been chilling for a little while.
Oh, there you go.
He says, do you see the 49ers trading up? I'll let you take this one first.
I want them to. But when you listen to John Lynch speak, and again, whatever he says in a press conference doesn't necessarily correlate to anything that they would be doing, because why would he talk about a draft strategy, right? And that's another thing. Fans were like, well, he didn't say anything. Well, what did you want him to say? Oh, well, this is our board. This is who we like. This is who we want at 99. If this guy's here, he wasn't going to say any of those things. So he did mention the fact that he believes that there's a lot of first-round talent in the third round where they pick, they're good where they're at, all those things. I don't think you were really going to get anything substantial from John Lynch when it comes to those. I think they should, and I think that if you're looking at the way you're building out this roster, you have 11 picks. 11 guys are not going to make this team from the draft. Unless you just plan on drafting guys and just cutting them and sending them on, whatever it is, and you can't really sneak guys that are ballers later on in the draft on practice squad. So I do see them trading up because you can't do everything with 11 picks. So you have your comp picks that you have for next year. You have a first, you have a second next year. Imagine that, Brad. We can go back to blue chip scouting again. But
Yay.
but I do believe that they should. I do think that that's something that they're really discussing at this point, but they weren't going to tell you that in the press conference.
I do think the 49ers can trade up. They have the ammunition to, they have the flexibility to. It just has to come down to the conviction that they have for a prospect. So, if there's someone that maybe is sliding out, kind of like what he talked about, and they see an opportunity to jump up and go get someone, they have the ability to. So, I could see a high likelihood where they do trade up. But it'll be fascinating to see what they do because they have the ability to basically move up and down the board. I wouldn't say they are going to move into the first. I think moving into the first would require player plus draft picks of some pretty substantial value because they're so far out. But I do see them trading up. I do see them. I'm not going to sit here and say it's 100% guaranteed that they're going to trade up because, of course, it's going to dictate on the prospect and the value, and of course, finding someone to do it. But they have the capability to. And I don't know if they're going to pick 99, 101, 102. They could, but they also have the flexibility to take two of those picks and move up. Maybe even take a pick from 2024 and package that to make this pot even sweeter because they're going to get comp picks for Jimmy G, Mike McGlinchey, Charles Omenihu, et cetera, et cetera. So they
Grant
got comp.
Carthan,
They
all
got comp.
those.
They got comp picks for days, and
Mhm.
like you said, they're going to have their first and second next year. So
Don't trade those. I want to go to the combine next
no,
year. I
no,
want to go to
we keep those,
yeah.
but they have the flexibility to do a bunch of different stuff.
I
So
want to go to the. I want to go see Brad at the Senior Bowl. I want to go to the combine with Brad and just look at actual first round blue chip talent.
I declared yesterday that no matter what, I'm going to the Senior Bowl next year. I'm going to
I
stop
can't wait.
messing around, and because obviously we get so caught up in covering the 49ers, and the 49ers have been on these deep playoff runs. I was like, man, even if they're in the playoff, because it's crazy, because we would have to, if they're in the NFC Championship game, we'd have to fly from the NFC Championship game to Mobile. It's pretty
I've done
crazy.
it.
You're a
I
legend
went,
for that.
I went to SoFi NFC Championship game. Literally a day later, I had to get on a plane, went right to the Senior Bowl, and it was just like it. I couldn't be happier to go to the Senior Bowl because it took my mind off the miss.
NFC champ. Well, after Philly, I was like, I'm dead. I'm dead. I feel like I have no soul. I'm not going. I don't want to watch football right now. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm done. But next year, I'm like, I got to do it. So
Yep.
that's the plan. And first, second round picks in the chamber. So, Justin, appreciate the super chat. Appreciate everyone who sent a super chat. Says, I just want to know if there are any prospect you guys would like if the Niners were to end up with a pick in the 20s, just in case. Are there any names that jump out to you right off the bat?
Kalijah Cansey, if he
Oh,
could make it into the 20s somehow, man, my goodness gracious. I mean, you're looking at a guy that fast is a pass rusher, can be on all three downs as an edge guy, stop the run. Man, I am going to build this roster the same way the 49ers would, build in the trenches, bring me that Pittsburgh dog, man. Kalijah Cansey would be the name, hands down, that I would just be frothing at the mouth to make sure he gets on the 49ers, man. My goodness gracious.
You, Justin, handshake emoji, because that's exactly what he's thinking. If I have a couple names, like depending on where Clemson defensive end Miles Murphy goes, I mean 6'5", 258, at one point was discussed as a potential top 10 pick. Didn't have the best production last year, but he's a high end traits player, and if you could get a defensive end like that, I'd be pretty stoked on that. If you could get a Darnell Wright, offensive tackle out of
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee, who's discussed as arguably one of the best tackles, and Anton Harrison. I actually tweeted about Anton today. Um, he's an interesting study because he's all over the place in regards to rankings. I've seen some draft sites have him in the 60s, other in the top 15. So it'll be fascinating. But those are some names that I like for the 49ers
And
potentially
real quick,
in
real,
that spot.
Real quick, Brad. ESPN just put out their ESPN Nation mock draft with all of their people. By the way, today's Todd day. By the way, just so you know, that's that Kuiper and
Yeah, yeah.
that skit is so good. By the way, anybody who hasn't seen it, it's him.
Frank
He's like,
Caliendo,
yeah,
Frank Caliendo.
Frank Caliendo. He's like, what is he disagreeing about? And he's like, Todd, and then he starts talking
He
about
just
like
talks about
coffee.
Todd,
Yeah. But Kalijah Kancey goes 18th to the Detroit Lions in this mock. So he would be out of the 20s. And you said Anton Harrison would go 24th to the Jacksonville Jaguars at offensive tackle. And your other offensive tackle goes much higher
Yeah,
than
like
Kancey.
he's
Darnell
like
Wright
top
goes
12.
Darnell he goes 16 to the Washington
16.
Commanders. Mhm.
Okay. So but that's the hard part too with this draft is I don't know if the value matches because there's so much depth in this draft. It feels like you don't have to go into the first, and it feels like you'll be able to get someone like, you know what I mean? There's not those blue chip guys that's like, and you're not going to get these blue chip guys in the 20s. So it's like, well, is there much difference between the 20s and the 40s? How much difference is there between the 40s and the 60s? You know, you start playing that game, like where's the value at? Find the value.
All right.
So,
Before we get to the mock draft, I want to go through a hypothetical with you because hindsight's 2020 and we can always look at everything. But I want to make sure I bring this up to you. Okay.
okay.
So last year when I was in Vegas for the draft, the buzz was that the New York Jets were going to offer pick 9, right, in the first round for Deebo Samuel.
Yep.
Okay. Pick 9 for the New York Jets turned into Offensive Rookie of the Year, Garrett Wilson.
Yep.
Bradley Graham.
Yep.
Pick 9 goes to the San Francisco 49ers. The New York Jets get Deebo Samuel. The San Francisco 49ers draft Garrett Wilson to be on a rookie deal for 4 or 5 years. And Aiyuk. Bradley Graham.
Aiyuk gets paid in that.
Oh, yeah, and Aiyuk gets paid. Bradley Graham, do you feel better about a wide receiver core of Garrett Wilson and Brandon Aiyuk as opposed to Deebo Samuel and Brandon Aiyuk? Thoughts? And also, I want to make sure I reiterate this. I was not on board with letting Deebo leave. I want to make sure that I say this. This is just a pure hypothetical thing that I am throwing out here. But my goodness, man, Garrett Wilson and Brandon Aiyuk, and Garrett Wilson is not going to be paid for 4 or 5 years, and you can pay Brandon Aiyuk, and you still can trade for Christian McCaffrey. Bradley Graham, Garrett Wilson, and Brandon Aiyuk. I will sit back and take your thoughts.
I mean, for me, it'd be Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave. Like it could have been either one of those guys, but obviously, Garrett Wilson has done a lot. But yeah, I mean, I think if you polled the fan base would be like trade Deebo before we get rid of Aiyuk because.
But now they are. Now they are. No. So that's the part that I wanted to bring up. Before the draft, I was firmly on board with everyone else who was like, you cannot get rid of Deebo. Deebo had the 49ers in his book bag. He carried the entire team all year. Arguably
offensive player of the year.
Arguably. He had a season that nobody in the NFL had before he went into his contract year and he wanted to get something.
Yeah, it was iconic. He was the most important weapon on a, let's call it for lack of a better word, just kind of a stagnant offense.
Saved Jimmy Garoppolo's job in Chicago. Saved the 49ers season multiple times. But hindsight, which
I guess it's like indicator. It's what's the other side of that coin? Yep. It's Deebo Samuel at 28 and who's the other guy? Is it Deebo Samuel and Danny Gray, 28-year-old Deebo Samuel and like a 24-year-old Danny Gray opposed to Brandon Aiyuk and Garrett Wilson? It's like you know, and both I think Aiyuk would be 26 and Garrett Wilson would be like 24. But you would still be in those prime windows. I don't know. It's hard because Deebo does have value, immense value to this team, the way he's used. Obviously, the 49ers went away from the wide back situation. That's tough, man. That's tough because I start getting turning into an ageist. When it starts coming to roster construction, I'm always looking to get younger. I'm always trying to how do I get younger at these positions? So that's a tough one. I like Deebo. I'm glad he's here. I wouldn't want him to go anywhere, but that would be a tough one. That would be like Garrett Wilson versus like a 28-year-old Deebo, and because we're thinking of 2024 and the potential that Ayuk's not here.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a difficult one. I would say
Brad
it's not a slam dunk. I'm sitting here on the fence. You can see, and I'm
Yeah.
not going to get off the fence, and I'm just
Mhm.
going to keep riding the fence because that's a tough one.
Hey, really, Brad Graham is about to take John Lynch's spot as the new politician for the 49ers and
That's
media
the new
trained,
waffler.
unbelievably media trained, man. I love it. Hey, really, go in your room and I'll bring you food in a little bit, okay?
Yeah, you're not going to get a hot take here. You're just going to get, oh, I see both sides of it. It makes sense for everyone. No. Yeah.
I got Grant Cohn coming on my show tonight. I think you're gonna get a much more spicy answer when I ask him because he does not shy away from that. So make sure you tune in tonight on the channel at 8.
Yeah, tune into that.
Wait,
So
you got DFF tonight, huh? Too?
I got DFF tonight. So Demetrius Flanagan Fouls coming on. We're going on at 4:30 Pacific Standard Time. So we'll get to talk about 49ers football with DFF.
Special teams and being a linebacker. My goodness, man, you cooking.
Well, you got Grant. Look at you.
I mean, whatever, bro. Grant is not an NFL player. Is Grant? He's just like look, literally gross Grant. Like that's the reaction you get. Grant's my guy though. Grant's my guy though, man. That's it. Like I understand.
They either love him or they love to hate him.
He's my guy.
There's no in between. All right, you ready to do our last mock draft of
mock baby mock draft 2.0 and the final one because tomorrow we draft.
Yeah. All right, I get to pick first. You pick first last time.
Yes, I was gonna say you absolutely get to pick first.
No trades, right? No trades. Just gonna go through. All right.
Yep.
All right, let's cook. All right, so the San Francisco 49ers are on the board at pick 99. What do you make of Byron Young being available in all these mocks at 99? I think both you and I thought he was going to ascend, at least, especially from the public perception. The public seems to still have Byron kind of hanging around 99. So that's interesting. And it's what's his name? Isaiah McGuire that's going higher than usual. But look at this. This brings a smile to my face. Nick Saldiveri going from the 200s all draft season to now, he's getting taken in the 90s, in the 80s. Those are things that you love to see. But I still think the San Francisco 49ers need to go tackle, and there are good tackles here available. This is again, this is why it's hard for the San Francisco 49ers to totally justify moving up into the first unless there's someone that they totally love, because just right here, again, it's a mock draft simulator, so how accurate can it be? You've got Tyler Steen, who is a good option for the 49ers, Blake Freeland, Wanya Morris, Braden Daniels, a guy that I really like, Jalen Duncan. All 5 of these options would be great, I would say. I really wouldn't be upset at any 5 of these guys. But I'm going to stick pat, especially too. You add in the fact that Blake Freeland's been working out with Joe Staley, and Joe Staley is going to be giving the most complex, in-depth scouting report to Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch about this guy. And I just see him the transition from Mike McGlinchey to a more athletic Mike McGlinchey feels too perfect. I know a lot of fans don't like to hear that, but I'm going to go Blake Freeland with the first pick at pick 99. It'll be interesting to see if he falls there. But, I mean, you're talking about a plug-and-play run blocker. He can pass protect. I know he can get knocked for pass protection, but he is going to be a starting caliber tackle as a run blocker first. He can hold up as a pass protector, and he can continue to get better as a pass protector. I think when you look at his athletic traits, that is going to be the difference in the way he develops as a pass protector. He can do it. He can move. He has feet. Mike struggled with his feet. With Blake Freeland, he's got good feet too. Once he just pulls it together, I think he could potentially be a more complete tackle than Mike McGlinchey. So that's where I go. You're muted.
I'm just a little baffled at Luke Schumacher being there available like this high. Like I wouldn't even have any thought to picking him at this point. I'll tell you the two places that I'm looking right now. And again, he's a run first guy. He's a run defense, run blocking guy. He can run up the seam. He doesn't have much in his bag. Like I don't understand the infatuation with him at all. Like he's not on my board at all for the 49ers. We have Charlie Warner. And I mean, he can just run up the seam at this point. He doesn't have much in his bag in terms of getting himself open. I don't understand why he's there. The two people I'm struggling with right here when I'm looking is Byron Young and Jamie Robinson. But here's the thing, Brad. We've got back-to-back picks.
We do.
So I get to pick who I want at what spot. And I can get the other guy on the other side. So what I'm going to do,
I like the same guy that you like.
Right. So I'm going to take Jamie Robinson. His ADP is 91, but I'm going to take him because he is the star safety of the future that you pair with Talanoa Hufanga. Give me Jamie Robinson. We're drafting him, and we have our safety of the future once Deshaun Gibson eventually moves on after his 1 year.
Look at this versatility. He's probably the most versatile safety in this class. He can do it all, and we know the 49ers have shown interest in him. That's a home run pick. Getting Jamie Robinson here would be fantastic. And then that leaves the door open for the 49ers to address another big need, which is edge. And there are multiple guys that you can go for. In this particular one, I've gone multiple different ways at times, but I think we are going to be in lockstep here. I'm going to go. I mean, Yaya Diaby is an option that I also like, but it's hard to pass up on the speed that Byron brings. He has a really physical mentality to him that he brings with the speed. So he's really good at speed to power. He can get it done. So we're going to go Byron Young. He's there. He's been mocked to the San Francisco 49ers quite a bit. So that's the move. So the first three picks that we go in this mock is Blake Freeland, Jamie Robinson, Byron Young. And now you are on the clock at pick 155.
Who's the running backs available? I'm just joking. I don't want to get anybody upset. Okay. So no.
This to me is the running back slot. This to me feels like 155. Like if you could get Sean Tucker fallen at 155. I don't think he's here. Oh, he went the pick before.
Right before.
To
damn
Seattle.
Seahawks.
Of course. But that feels like a perfect Sean Tucker slot for the 49ers.
I wouldn't be mad at Evan Hull falling later on, right? Like holding off and trying to see if you can get Evan Hull later on. Like I think that's a little bit more of a keep going though. All right, Brad. For the interest of the way that you do your business, you understand, right? We do have a needed tight end.
Yes.
I am not going to go ahead and reach up for Will Mallory. He may not be on the board right now at this point either.
You don't want another You don't want another F?
I don't want another F. I don't want another F. I don't want another F. We're going to take Davis Allen from Clemson. Just because, again, you're looking at the value. You're looking at the player in the spot. I feel a little bit better about Will because I think that he, in the right system, if you start to throw him the ball and get him involved, you're going to see growth. But I do think that Davis Allen right now is more inclined to be better. He's only 22 years old at this point. And I do think that when you look at the value, I have no problem saying that I think that Davis Allen projects as a bigger star, regardless if I have a draft crush on Will Mallory. We're going to go with Davis Allen here, and we're not going to mess up the board with just what I want and what I like.
This is absolutely phenomenal because Jason goes with my draft crush at tight end, Davis Allen. Dabo Sweeney called Davis Allen the best tight end he's ever had in his program, and that was he's had a first round tight end. I think it was Dwayne Allen, who came out of Clemson. So Davis Allen is, I think, a complete tight end. I think he can get better. I think he can get bigger, and I also think he can get faster. So I think Davis Allen would be a phenomenal prospect. It was funny talking to him at the combine. It's like some guys that you stand in front of, you're like, wow, that looks like a football player, like just absolutely monstrous. Davis just seemed like a normal dude. I mean, he's still 6'6" and 245, but he looked like he had a frame that could carry probably 15 more pounds of pure muscle. And he does look like he could even just mature, especially at the NFL level. So I love that pick. You get a round of applause for me, A plus there. So let's see, what positions have we addressed? We've addressed tackle, safety, edge, and tight end. I mean, we've done a great job for the San Francisco 49ers
You're welcome,
addressing.
49ers fans.
You're welcome. We have fixed the 49ers for you with just the first 4 picks, but look at how many picks we have left. There's still a lot to go. I do think they're going to double up on a couple positions. But this is where this type of scenario becomes very interesting. Because just like we talked about a little bit earlier, do the San Francisco 49ers draft a quarterback in the mid rounds? A Hainer, a DTR. Is DTR even available? I think he might be. Let's just double check. We'll do diligence on the quarterbacks. Let's do our due diligence. He's not available.
He's gone.
He's gone. Who took him?
Stop.
The Patriots. So the Mac Jones replacement. Mac Jones replacement.
Yeah, right, PFF. Not a chance. Are you kidding me?
It would have been better off with Jake Hainer or Stetson Bennett than I think DTR over there in Patriots.
Stop the Max Duggan erasure is gone too far. I'm obviously being sarcastic. Jesus.
So as we stand right now, I do think the 49ers are we've addressed a good amount of needs. So that gives us the flexibility to potentially go cornerback. We could potentially go linebacker. This is a guy that has some intrigue to him. I do like Marte Mapu out of Sac State. He feels like he could be an option for the 49ers in the 3rd round just because he feels like another Fred Warner. Like he feels like another one of those just positionless defensive players who you stick him at linebacker and you watch him develop into a monster. But this also does feel like a phenomenal spot to go cornerback. And there are a bunch of guys here that I really like. Caillou Blue Kelly, I've liked for some time now. And I think he's a perfect fit for what the San Francisco 49ers want to do. I also like Mekhi Blackman a hell of a lot. Mekhi is a Bay Area kid. I don't know if Caillou is from the Bay Area, obviously played in the Bay Area at Stanford, but I like what Mekhi brings to the table. I feel like he's a pure coverage corner. He's 24 though, and Caillou's 21 and 9 months. See, now this is where my ageism starts to show. That is enough for me to sway a prospect. If I get Caillou here in 2 years of NFL experience, he will be the same age as Mekhi right now. So to me, that's valuable. And so for that reason, I am going to go Caillou. I think you can't go wrong with either one of these guys. I think they could. I think they have starting upside. I don't think they're going to be day one starters. I think they have starting upside. But my ageism is showing. And because of that, I'm going Caillou Blue Kelly. Local kid out of Stanford, doesn't have to go far. And of course, the 49ers are going to have a lot of experience with him just being down the street.
What I noticed from Brad is if you're in a dynasty league with Brad and he has a running back that is 25 years old, he is looking to move that running back because he is way too old. He is way too old. I
Meanwhile,
gotta
I
give.
have so many Nick Chubb shares; it's unbelievable.
I just traded. I just traded for Christian McCaffrey in a league. I sent George Pickens, my 210 and my next year's first. But I'm a competing roster. Like my team is loaded, right? Like I just added
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey to a team that I have Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Derrick Henry, Deebo Samuel. Like I'm loaded. So like that's why I made that move. All
That's a
right.
good move.
What are we doing here? Well, it's time, Brad. And I want to go off the board here. I want to make sure that I am looking at all the options. I just don't feel like we're going to get him when he comes all the way back around. And I do think that it's time to address the wide receiver position.
Ooh, there we go.
And this one is for my guy, Justin, who put me on. Got a chance to watch him a little bit. Wasn't able to get the all 22. But it's Dontavian Wicks time. The 49ers have to figure out what's going on and insulate themselves in case Brandon Aiyuk's not going to be here. Dontavian Wicks feels like a guy who can develop. You can still keep Jawan Jennings in the role that he is, can play a little bit more outside. I love insulating yourself now, getting a guy, and the 49ers have shown that. Aaron Banks, Talanoa Hufanga, you get guys that when you know that you're letting someone else go to replace. I could have went Jake Haener there. I really could have. I really could have. But I went Dontavian Wicks because I am trying to insulate this roster. And he could be a guy that when we look back at this draft, even later on, you'll say, how in the hell did he fall that far? And I'll tell you this, the guy who I was going to take, if Dontavian Wicks wasn't there, was taking a spot right before. Again, another safety, Daniel Scott. I would have went Daniel Scott again. I mean, a safety again. I would have went safety one more time right there.
I think two safeties is 100% in the cards for the San Francisco 49ers. Because
especially
Gibson is on a 1-year deal. He's
right.
On a 1-year
and the versatility that Robinson has. Robinson comes down, plays the slot a little bit. You have Scott, you have Hufanga. Like I would have loved that idea. But Scott went off the board right before. I addressed wide receiver. Dontavian Wicks, come on down. Justin, that one was for you, buddy.
And Dontavian Wicks is going to be a solid player. I mean, you talk about routes, you talk about catch point. He's a good receiver. Man, all these guys have gone. Deshaun Johnson's gone. Cam Jones. Antonio's gone. Mackay goes. Wiley goes. Haener goes. Jose Ramirez goes. I would have loved to snag Jose. I like Jose quite a bit. He's my poor man's D4. No disrespect to Jose, but I love him as a just pure pass rusher. Anytime I can get him in a mock, I try to. I don't know if the 49ers have any interest at all in him, but he's a guy that I like. So now that gives us an opportunity. Is it time to go running back? We're at, what are we at? We're at 216. So we are almost officially in the 7th round. So anything goes from here on out.
Oh, yeah.
You've got guys like Kenny McIntosh.
Wait a minute. Did Hall make it?
He did, I believe. He's right here.
Wow.
He's a guy that we could probably even play the value game a little bit if we want to.
And get a little bit later.
Running back to 222 and try to go with a little bit more of a premier position. We could double tights for the culture. We get two. You draft my tight end draft crush. I draft your tight end draft crush. Because I do think 2 tight ends is a possibility. I believe that's a possibility as well.
Let's think about this logically also. We love George Kittle. How much longer can he produce at the level that he has, getting into a place where he's so physical? Why wouldn't you take a shot on a Davis Allen early on and then maybe a Will Mallory later on? And one of those guys will eventually be the guy. So I don't think you're too far off there. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but my goodness, man, if I was John Lynch and I see him at 216, I'm probably running up to the board. But I am a little bit conflicted with Evan Hull right there as well too. I do love the idea of bringing him in as well too. I think he's a seamless fit with the 49ers.
These are 2 offensive linemen that I like at this level. You could go with a center here, potentially to be the center of the future, or just be additional depth at center. I think Ricky Stromberg is a guy that you should keep your eye on. It'll be interesting to see if he goes this late. Owens is a my guy. I came across him doing our combine prep. I really loved his game. I feel like he's going to go higher than the late sixth, seventh. He feels like a fifth round guy to me. But it'll be interesting. But you also have linebacker Aubrey Miller as an option. You still have some edge with DJ Johnson, Cameron Latu, Tavius Robinson. McClendon Curtis at 248 feels wrong. That's why these mock draft simulators, like, it's fun to do, but it's just like, man, I just have a hard time
Yo,
like seeing these guys go this late.
GAA said, "Yo, Jason, chill with that moaning, bro. You're gonna get me in trouble." Hey, man, you have.
Hey yo,
Hey, yo.
hey yo. Oh my goodness. I want to do this just to make Jason happy, and maybe we'll
No
get another
way.
noise. We'll get another noise out of him.
No way.
Yeah, we're gonna do it. So because I do think it's a possibility, and I know with Will Mallory, his athletic profile is pretty damn good, and if you can you can get him in here. I don't think Ross Dwelley has a future he's signed a 1-year deal that the 49ers could probably get out of. So we know the 49ers kept 4 tight ends. Davis Allen makes it 4. They got to have more. At this value, at the end, hopefully I don't get an F, but I'm going with Will Mallory.
I don't think
and
you
look
are.
Who's,
Oh,
look who's still on the board. Look who's still on the board.
You know what to do right there. It's Evan Hull, and you won't get an F grade on that because his ADP, based on these mocks, is exceeding where you took him. So you got him at a value. Yeah, we're taking Evan Hull here. And when you take a running back in the 7th round, I'm good. That 3rd round running back thing, it has to be done. But I love Evan Hull right here, man. I think that's a home run pick at 222, man.
There we go. Justin says, I might get trolled, but I feel like Deshaun Johnson could go in the 3rd. His RAS comp is Bryant Young. I think that's, again, going to be another guy that the NFL is much higher on than media or anything like that. So let's see. We got Puka. We went Puka last time. We don't need tight end. Ricky Stromberg's still there. I mean, have you heard of Caleb Murphy? I haven't done any research into him. Have you heard about the production this dude put up in D2?
I haven't, unfortunately. I'm sorry. And that probably makes me a casual.
No. I had no idea until someone told me about him. I'm like, who is this guy? I click on him. There's no stats. There's nothing. It's because he's a D2 kid. But he had over 40 sacks the last 2 seasons and over 60 tackles for loss the last 2 seasons.
Wow.
Yeah, it's at D2, but I don't care. Football's football. That's insane.
That's insane production.
That's insane production. And I play D2. I'll put some respect on some D2 kids. And who's the linebacker, all pro linebacker that came out of D2 for the Colts?
Shaquille.
Yep.
Leonard.
Yep, that's a D2 kid. So it happens. It happens all the time. Don't scout the school, scout the prospect. So I haven't watched him, but the production is something that I definitely.
You could take a chance on a 247.
This is one of the things that is the most egregious things that I've seen.
197 ADP, though, and his rank is 281. It's clear that other people are higher on him.
They cooked his ranking when they readjusted it. They cooked him. I've seen him as high as 75 in other people's rankings. So I would love to go Andre, but we went Dontavian. Oh, I'm a big Demario.
Double up on wide receiver.
But I'm a big Demario Douglas guy.
All right. And if you don't, then, I think Puka's still there as well, too.
But I think because you already went wide receiver, we've doubled up on tight end. We got a running back. I kind of want some interior offensive line. I do.
Okay,
And if Ricky Stromberg is going to be there, that's where I'm going to
do
go.
it. Do it.
I'm going to go BPA, and that's Ricky Stromberg. And hey, you get a center. There you go.
Well, and I'll tell you what. Keep going down. Let me see what's on this board real quick. We're not gonna do tight end again. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. All right. I am going to take a shot at pick 253 on Caleb Murphy.
There you
Haven't
go.
watched him. Haven't watched him. Don't know much about him, but you hear the production.
Got no stats.
You got no stats, got no grade, anything like that. But this is
All right.
where you take shots on players like that. And at 253, we only have one more pick after this. All right. I was going to say take a look at the kickers, but I was going to say that to joke around. But hey, forget it. I'm glad. I will not draft the kicker. I will not. I do not care. Zane Gonzalez, this is your job. And all eyes are on you, buddy.
So this has been the pick where I love Tyson Bagent here. Like again, getting to watch him at the NFL Combine. Again, it's throwing against air, but still throwing against air. He was up there with CJ Stroud. He doesn't have the power of Anthony Richardson, but he arguably, you can make the argument he was one of the most, if not the most consistent thrower on the entire day, and that's with DTR, Hayner, Toon. I think Duggan was one of the worst out there. Stetson Bennett. So I like Tyson, and I've done a little bit of research, and this is typically where I go for my quarterback because I've been operating this whole offseason that the San Francisco 49ers are going to keep Trey. But again, if they take a 4th or 5th round pick, I think that changes that conversation a little bit. So that's where I like this spot. But you know what? There's a position of need that we really just haven't addressed. And I think it's time that we lean in and we go get the GOAT.
Oh,
Are you
God.
ready? We're going to go get
there?
the GOAT.
He's there. Of course he is.
Oh, that's not the GOAT. We're going with the real GOAT. If I can even find him. There he is. Chad Ryland, the GOAT kicker out of Maryland to round out.
You didn't even take Moody.
Nope. He ain't the GOAT. Chad Ryland is the GOAT.
How do we do this time?
Let's find out. So far at the top, it looks good. At the top, it looks good. They didn't love our Dontavian, but Dontavian in the 5th, steal. B, I'll take it. What did we get last time? Like a C- or something like that?
No, we got an F.
They probably would have it. But if they wanted us to mock draft again, they would have gave us an F. We wouldn't have returned. But they're like, we'll give you a C-.
So all right. So you got a B+, I got a B-, you got an A-, I got a B-, you got a B+, I got a C, you got a B, I got a B, you got an A, and then where do we go? I got a C+ for Caleb Murphy. Christ, I'm killing my grade here. Keep going.
And we got the GOAT, Chad Ryland.
Hey, B. Hey, clip it, post it on Twitter, let people yell at us. Make sure you let them know who picked who in which spot so they can just yell at us.
If the San Francisco 49ers came away with this draft, I would be happy.
Yeah.
I know you wouldn't because we took a kicker with the last pick.
Wait. Why wouldn't I be happy though? Will Mallory, Jamie Robinson,
the agenda. That's it.
No, well, whatever, man. They need to bring in somebody else. Otherwise, Zane Gonzalez, all eyes on you, buddy, and you better not get hurt. You better make every single kick, or it's pitchforks and everything for you. But you look at it, you got Blake Freeland, you got Jamie Robinson, you get Byron Young. Those are 3 high upside guys, especially Byron Young, A- in at 102. And then you look at, I love Will Mallory. I feel like Dontavian Wicks is insulating your wide receiver room because Brandon Aiyuk might not be here. And then everything else after that is all gravy. I mean, you get yourself another center, right? Jake Brendel's not going to be here for too much longer. I would love this draft. Absolutely love this draft.
This actually looks like a pretty good draft. I'm not going to lie.
Post it. This is our final. This is the final State of the Franchise one, and what a change from the last one.
I know. We definitely learned our lesson from the last one. And I think we did a phenomenal job. I mean, Jamie Robinson could start. Byron Young could be in heavy rotation. Blake Freeland could push for a starting job. Davis Allen I would say, go right into tight end 2. Um, Caillou's gonna provide immense depth behind. He'd probably be cornerback 3 on the outside. Dontavian brings a physicality that is similar to Brandon Aiyuk when it comes to a receiver. You get the athletic profile of Will Mallory. Evan Hole's got a little scoot to him. Ricky Stromberg's a steal. I don't think he's going to go this low. We don't even know. Neither one of us have gotten eyes on Caleb Murphy, but we were stat scouting, and we feel confident with our stat scouting. And just for this, I'm gonna go try to see what I can find on Caleb
And
Murphy.
and at 253, you can take a shot on that. And I also
Yeah, you
see
don't even have to watch him. You're just like, oh, 40 sacks the last 2 years. Take him.
I
Why not?
also see we need the tight end from Old Dominion. I got a chance to watch Zachary Kuntz, and while I was enamored with the way that he ran at the combine, that just does not translate to his play speed. The man is molasses in and out of breaks. He's a tall guy. He's a tall guy who can't be contested catches either. I am all the way good on Zachary Kuntz. Sorry, man. You can't be 6'7" and not coming down with those 50-50 balls. And for as fast as you run your 40, he does not get in and out of his breaks fast. He is not a fast guy on film. He is not a fast guy play speed. So I'm good on Zachary Kuntz. Let someone else try to bet on those. I'll take my guy Will Mallory 10 out of 10 days over him.
Yeah, I've watched way too much Old Dominion tape that I want to admit, and unfortunately, I can't remember a time that he popped once, and I was looking out for him because
Dude,
I
and when
knew that he was
he
there. I knew he was on the team, and he was a transfer from Penn State, and he was draft eligible. And I was like, all right, I'm going to watch out for him. He literally didn't pop on tape.
he gets moving, and he's getting ready to stack his cover corner, whoever it is, with his move. And by the time he makes the move, like he's already given the right step and he's trying to make the left, the corner, the linebacker, they're already jumped to the other side on him. Like he doesn't play as fast as his 40. And that's why the combine swings and you get players that people are like, oh my God, he ran the 40 this fast. But he doesn't play that fast. And he doesn't get in and out of breaks. He doesn't get himself wide open. Now, if you want to argue, this is the one thing that I want to give a positive to, right? Because it's like a compliment sandwich, right?
Yeah.
I think he's very tall. I think he's very fast. I think he has problems with his play speed. But here's how you bring the compliment sandwich together is in a 49ers offense in which Kyle Shanahan can find ways to rub him open, get okay, I hear you. You know, like if that's where you want to go. But as far as Zachary Kuntz being like this can't miss like tight end guy, I was big on him because I looked at his traits early on. But when I watched him, the more and more he looked slower on tape. He just wasn't getting open. And that's it. I like for me, you have to get yourself open with your speed. You have to get yourself open with your route running acumen. I don't feel like he has either of those things when he plays. He has straight line 40 speed, but unfortunately, the football isn't played that way. So for me, Kuntz is a physical specimen in terms of his height, but he doesn't catch the ball at contested catches, and he doesn't have play speed that mirrors that. So for me, that's where my evaluation is. And when I was on Croc's show and I told him that about Kuntz, and he was like, I agree 110% like about that assessment. And I was like, all right, I feel way better about it. So I knew I wasn't tripping.
Yeah, no, I agree with your assessment as well. He can jump out the roof and he can run very fast and test well. But we understand that's kind of where it's like where you come back to like there is a value from the combine, but does it translate to the field? And that's where you're like, okay, I watched the tape, doesn't necessarily translate. So and we've seen guys who test terribly, aka Keenan Allen, Mr. 471. Oh, this guy's slow. And out here cooking everyone's ankles. So there's context for everything. But I'm proud of us. I think
I am too.
I think we did a phenomenal final mock.
You got to post this. You got to post this before you do your DFF.
I'll post it.
Discussion today. Yeah, post it.
I got an hour and a half. So
yeah, post it. Make sure you let us know that we've alternated the picks and everything. Let's get people.
I'll do my picks list. I'll do your picks.
Or
list.
you just say I started it and we bounced it up and down or whatever it is that you feel like is the best.
All right. Well, we'll get it posted and we'll let the public rip us apart for mock drafts.
They're gonna rip us apart for taking 2 tight ends. But I also want to say that I took Davis Allen, and I didn't advocate for you taking Will Mallory, but I love the idea. I love the idea of having both of them, and that makes us super dynamic going forward for a very cheap price. Think about how little Will Mallory will cost going forward. That is what you really need to hold on to.
I believe in them taking 2 tight ends. I'm down. Like, whether it's drafting 2, bringing in multiple undrafted free agents, I think Warner and Dwelly, as much as I like both, they both need some pushing. And so
Warner and Dwelly, they need pushing. Yes.
yes.
Warner needs pushing to catch the ball. Dwelly needs pushing.
I love Warner as a blocker.
That's fine.
I like Dwelly as a hands catcher.
Okay.
Like, when the ball is around his hands, he catches it. It's I didn't say route runner. I didn't say separator. You throw it.
Look, it's the 6th year of Ross Dwelly. I think we know what he is at this point. Yeah. Let's try something else. No disrespect, Ross. Ross the boss. No disrespect, Ross.
No disrespect. He's played a phenomenal role with the San Francisco 49ers.
Sort of. When he's pressing the duty, he'll catch that 1 touchdown every year.
That's why this is a cutthroat business, man.
Oh yeah,
it's just like every year. Like, imagine, like, you think you getting some footing. They're like, oh no, we're bringing a whole new crop of players to come take your job. So it is what it is. It's not like anything new.
See, tell him, Creed. He passed on Jake Moody, man. You got to get on Brad for that.
I took the GOAT, Chad Ryland. Come on now.
I mean, I'm the dude from Michigan.
New 40 picker specialist. So deal with it.
Deal with it.
So Chad Ryland, GOAT. Just because
Chad Ryland, you are a San Francisco 49er, pal.
Congrats. And again, for full context, the only reason he's the GOAT is because he followed me back. So that was about it, because I took him in one of my mocks, and he's the GOAT now. So we'll take it.
Love it.
So anyways, what do you got cooking tonight for your stuff? You had mentioned you got a show with the Grant Cohn.
So tonight, Grant Cohn, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern. A lot of people wondering what's the deal with me and Grant. We're good, but it'll be on both our channels, his and my own. So we're cooking that tonight. And Niners Nation, the rest of the week, this entire weekend is busy for us. We're going to be writing up on everybody at the 49ers draft. I feel like I've done the most draft prep I've ever done in my entire life, and this includes when we had pick 3. Because I was so set on taking Justin Fields. But this year I've done a ton of work on a ton of prospects. I feel more prepared than ever, and I'm ready to cook, man. I'm ready to go, man. NinersNation.com is where you'll find all my stuff. Every single day you'll get a new article.
So we're working. Make sure you're following Jason on all his stuff. And he's out here cranking out articles. I've actually been the opposite. I was like, this is the least prepared I think I've been for a draft, just because I'm still partially recovering from the NFC Championship game. But we talked about that earlier. I'm going to make sure that we get to the Senior Bowl and we start this draft season off on the right foot next year. But I will be back on live tonight. Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, 49ers linebacker, special team star, will be live on the channel at 4:30, so make sure you stick around for that. Looking forward to getting his take on the draft as a undrafted free agent. It's always curious to see how the guys who go undrafted, their take on the draft is, and how they kind of like what emotions it elicits. So it'll be interesting. But make sure you guys tap in for that. I'm excited. He has an opportunity to fill that Azeez Al-Shaair role. So, and the 49ers have been pretty good.
DFF Hive, baby. Let them know this is the DFF Hive.
DFF Hive, let's go. So that's tonight. And of course, draft coverage. And the draft's tomorrow, dude. I can't believe it. Draft is tomorrow. All right. Is that it? You got anything else?
Nope, that's it. Thank you, Brad. Love you, buddy. Can't wait to watch you and DFF cook. Yeah, there's a lot of good content coming out from a lot of 49ers content creators. We have the draft tomorrow, thank God. So we can deviate away from quarterback talk. So yeah. I'm super excited. Somehow,
Jason, we're gonna find a way to talk about the quarterback. Not because we want to, just because something's going to happen. I'm not putting it out there. I retract that energy from the universe. I apologize. But yes, the draft is tomorrow. Grab your cookies on the way out. That's it for us and the state of the franchise. We'll see you later. Peace. That's Jason Aponte. I'm Brad Graham. We're going to get into it all right now.